They showed us a zombie deer in the trailer, but they didn't show you how to hunt it. They didn't tell you how its infection changes everything. This isn't just a new monster, it's a new economy. And I'm going to show you how to exploit it. Forget everything you learned in State of Decay 2. Your old tactics, your safe zones, they're a death trap now. The rules of survival have been rewritten by a single, terrifying new mechanic. This is log entry 1 of my new survival plan. This is survivor designation. Call me Spectre. If you're listening to this, it means you found one of my caches. It means you're still out there. Good. But don't get comfortable. The world you thought you knew, the one we fought to carve out a piece of, it's gone. The plague, it changed, it adapted, it learned. The whispers we heard from the north, the stories from patrols that never came back, they're true. The infection has found new hosts. It moves faster. It thinks. The old rulebook? Burn it. Every tactic that kept you alive for the last few years is now a liability. Every safe house is a potential tomb. This log, this entire series, is my attempt to write the new one. This is not a collection of tips. This is a complete doctrine. A new State of Decay 3 strategy for a world that wants you dead in ways you can't even imagine yet. We're going to break down the core mechanic changes that Undead Labs is weaving into this new nightmare, but not as a feature list. We're going to analyze them as threats, as opportunities. We will dissect the strategic implications of animal zombies, the overhaul to base building, the evolution of the plague itself. I've been studying the signs, connecting the dots, from the trailer, the developer interviews, the whispers on the wire. This is my survival plan, and if you want to make it through the first winter, you'll make it yours too. First, we need to understand why everything you know is wrong. Why your instincts, honed by the last apocalypse, will betray you in this one. Let's begin. Let's talk about muscle memory. It's what keeps a soldier calm in a firefight. It's what lets a mechanic strip an engine blindfolded. And in our world, it's what keeps you alive when the dead are clawing at your door. But what happens when that muscle memory is based on a lie? What happens when the enemy changes the rules of the fight without telling you? You die. That's what's going to happen to countless survivors when this new wave hits. They'll fall back on their training from the Trumbull Valley days, and it will get them killed. I'm recording this log to perform an autopsy on the old ways, to show you precisely why they are now obsolete. Consider the cornerstone of survival in State of Decay 2, the static, fortified base. We all did it. Find a defensible location, the container fort, the strip mall, and turn it into a fortress. High walls, watchtowers, overlapping fields of fire. We created islands of safety in a sea of death. It was a sound strategy. It worked. But it relied on a fundamental assumption, that the primary threat came from a predictable direction, on foot. We built our defenses to repel shambling hordes and the occasional freak. The New World spits on that assumption. The introduction of animal vectors, which we will dissect in excruciating detail later, means the threat is no longer just at your gates. It's in the trees, it's in the snowdrifts, it's moving at speeds you cannot react to. A plague-crazed buck won't politely approach your main gate. It will crash through a weak wall on the flank you thought was secure. A flock of infected crows won't be stopped by a watchtower. They'll swarm your defenders from above. Your fortress is no longer an island. It's a bowl, open to the sky. And the death from above is a new kind of rain. The very concept of a static, impenetrable defense is a relic. It fosters a dangerous complacency. Survivors will sit behind their walls, hoarding resources, feeling safe, while the world outside evolves into something that can bypass those walls as if they weren't even there. The new State of Decay 3 strategy must be fluid. It must be proactive. Defense is no longer about walls. It's about intel, about interception, about neutralizing threats before they can even see your home. Your base is not a castle, it's a fire base. a temporary position from which to project power and control territory. We must think like guerrillas, not feudal lords. Now, let's talk about the second pillar of the old world, the resource run. We all know the dance. Load up a vehicle, pack some snacks, and drive to the next town over to strip the buildings bare. The biggest threats were running out of gas or getting your Vandito stuck on a pebble. It was risky, but manageable. That entire gameplay loop is now a suicide mission. Why? Because the world is no longer static. The developers have spoken of a more dynamic world, one that changes, that feels more alive. Read between the lines. That means resource scarcity will be a real, evolving problem. It means locations that were safe one day might be a new Plague Hearts territory the next. It means the weather, the snow we saw in the trailer, isn't just cosmetic. A blizzard doesn't just reduce visibility. It kills engines. It slows you to a crawl. It allows new predators, things that are adapted to the cold, to hunt you in a way they couldn't before. Driving a loud, gas-guzzling truck into an unknown area is like ringing a dinner bell. The noise will attract things that are faster than your truck. The isolation will leave you stranded and exposed. The old method of reactive scavenging, going out only when the pantry is bare, is a recipe for disaster. The new survival strategy demands foresight. It requires a deep understanding of resource management that goes beyond a simple rucksack count. It's about establishing renewable resources. It's about setting up webs of smaller, self-sufficient outposts that can feed resources back to your main base. It's about learning the craft which you need from what the world gives you, not just what you can find in a box. The days of the cross-country road trip for a bag of chips are over. We have to become farmers, engineers, and chemists. We have to make the world provide for us, because trying to take what's left will only get us killed. The muscle memory says, get in the car. The new reality says, that car is your coffin. This same flawed logic extends to our combat tactics. The dodge and execute maneuver was the bread and butter of close-quarters combat. The reliance on headshots was paramount. These are still useful skills, but they are no longer the complete picture. The evolving plague means evolving enemies. The Zeds are not just shamblers anymore. They are adapting. We can expect variants that are faster, tougher, and smarter. Perhaps some will have rudimentary armor, making headshots less effective. Perhaps some will have area of effect attacks that punish you for getting close. The zombie deer is proof that the enemy is diversifying its portfolio. It's not just a bipedal threat, it's an everything threat. Relying on a single combat style is like a boxer who only knows how to throw a jab. You will be countered. You will be overwhelmed. The new State of Decay 3 strategy for combat must be about versatility. It requires mastery of stealth, of trapping, of environmental hazards. It demands a new level of weapon customization and specialization within your community. Your melee expert is no longer enough. You need a trapper who can lock down a flank. You need a heavy gunner who can suppress a new type of juggernaut. You need a scout who can identify and track these new animal threats from a safe distance. The lone wolf survivor, the hero who can take on a horde with the rebar mace and a can-do attitude, is a myth from the old world. In this new world, that person is just the first to die. Community specialization, tactical synergy, these are the new watchwords. Before we can build the new doctrine, we must fully accept that the old one is dead. Every instinct you have, every lesson you learned, question it, deconstruct it. Because the ghosts of the old world are reaching out, not to guide you, but to drag you down with them. Do not. In the next log, we will begin building the new doctrine. We will start with the most significant change, the one that redefines the very nature of the apocalypse, the animal vector. Log entry 03, Spectre. Let's talk about the deer. That single image from the announcement trailer. The glowing eyes, the flesh sloughing off the bone, the unnatural gait. It was a terrifying sight, but most survivors saw it as just another monster, another special infected to put down. They are dangerously, catastrophically wrong. The infected deer is not just a new enemy type. It is a fundamental paradigm shift in the nature of the zombie apocalypse. It is the manifestation of the plague's evolution, and it represents a strategic threat on a level we have never encountered before. To understand how to survive in State of Decay 3, you must first understand the doctrine of the animal vector. The primary limitation of the classic zombie, the shambler, was its mobility. It was bound by terrain and human speed. This made containment, evasion, and fortification relatively straightforward. We knew how they moved. We knew their limitations. The animal vector shatters those limitations. An infected deer, or a wolf, or a bear, they do not move like humans. They are faster. They are more agile. They can traverse terrain that would stop a horde in its tracks. A dense forest is no longer a safe refuge. It is a hunting ground where you are the prey. A frozen river is no longer a barrier. It's an ambush point. The entire map, every square inch of wilderness between the so-called safe zones, is now hostile territory of the highest order. Your scouting and travel procedures must be completely rewritten. Moving on foot requires a new level of situational awareness. You're not just looking for shamblers in the distance anymore. You're scanning the trees for infected birds. You're listening for the unnatural crunch of snow that signals a predator moving at speed. You're looking for tracks. You're thinking like a hunter, because you are now being hunted by things that have been hunting in these lands for millennia. Vehicles offer a false sense of security. An infected stag, weighing hundreds of pounds and driven by pure plague rage, is not going to be stopped by the flimsy door of a sedan. It will become a biological battering ram. The new State of Decay 3 animal zombies tactics must prioritize stealth and avoidance above all else. Noise discipline is critical. Scent discipline might even become a mechanic. We must learn their patrol patterns, their hunting grounds, their behaviors. These are not mindless eating machines. They are predators, and we must respect the threat they pose. But the threat isn't just about direct combat. The animal vector introduces a terrifying new pathway for infection. What happens when an infected deer dies and its plague-ridden corpse contaminates a water source? A river you've been drinking from for months could become a death sentence. What happens to the other animals that scavenge from its carcass? The plague could spread exponentially through the entire ecosystem. This isn't just about zombies anymore. It's about a fully fledged environmental plague. This has massive implications for resource management. Foraging for food becomes a high-risk gamble. Is that berry bush contaminated? Did an infected animal die near this stream? Hunting for fresh meat, a staple of survival, is now a game of Russian roulette. Every animal you kill must be carefully examined for signs of infection. A single mistake could wipe out your entire community from the inside. This new reality forces a strategic shift towards sustainable, self-contained agriculture. Secure water sources, protected greenhouses, and quarantined livestock are no longer luxuries for an endgame community. They are day-one priorities. You cannot trust the world to provide for you anymore. You must force it to, under carefully controlled conditions. Now, let's pivot from threat to opportunity. A good strategist sees both. These infected animals, for all the danger they represent, are also a new resource. Their bodies will likely contain unique plague samples, far more potent than what we could harvest from common infected. These advanced samples could be the key to crafting new plague cures, new biological weapons, or powerful new consumables. The risk of hunting a plague buck is immense, but the reward could be a breakthrough that secures your community's future. This creates a new high-risk, high-reward gameplay loop. It requires a specialized class of survivor, the plague hunter. This individual would need a unique combination of skills: tracking, stealth, ballistics, and biology. They would be responsible for venturing into the most dangerous parts of the map to harvest these critical components. It's a suicide mission, but a necessary one. The existence of these creatures also gives us a new weapon, the environment itself. If we can learn their behaviors, we can manipulate them. We could, for example, use a sound lure to draw a pack of infected wolves into an enemy enclave. We could bait a plague bear into destroying a plague heart for us. The animal vector turns the wilderness into a weapon that can be wielded by a clever commander. This requires deep reconnaissance and a willingness to take calculated risks. The core of this new State of Decay 3 strategy is information. You need to know your enemy. Every new animal variant will have strengths and weaknesses. The deer might be fast but fragile. The bear might be slow but unstoppable. We need to build a bestiary, a field guide to this new world of horrors. Every encounter, successful or not, is an intelligence-gathering operation. So what are the actionable takeaways? 1. All travel is now a deliberate tactical movement. No more casual jogging down the road. 2. Secure your food and water production immediately, isolated from the outside world. 3. Invest in a plague hunter specialization for one of your survivors. They will be your most valuable asset. 4. Begin thinking of the wilderness not as an obstacle, but as a weapon. How can you use these new monsters against your other enemies? The deer in the trailer wasn't a warning. It was a declaration of war. It declared that the old rules are dead. In the next log, we'll discuss how this new, deadlier world impacts the most important resource of all, people. Log entry 04. Spectre. We've talked about the external threats, the new predators, the evolving plague. But the greatest danger in this new world isn't what's outside your walls. It's what's inside, your community, your people. In the old world, survivors were resources, certainly, but they were often interchangeable. You needed a medic, a gardener, a mechanic. As long as you had the roles filled, you were fine. Morale was a simple meter to keep in the positive. That system is a luxury we can no longer afford. In State of Decay 3, your community is not a collection of stat blocks. It is a complex, volatile, and incredibly powerful weapon. And like any weapon, it can backfire spectacularly if mishandled. The core mechanic change we must prepare for is a deeper, more meaningful simulation of human relationships and psychological stress. Think about the pressures of this new world. The constant threat of animal predators, the paranoia of contaminated food and water, the knowledge that a single mistake can lead to a swift, brutal death. This level of stress will break people. It will fuel conflicts, create factions, and shatter morale in ways a simple infestation never could. Managing morale is no longer about building a nice lounge and clearing out the local hordes. It's about becoming a true leader. It's about managing interpersonal conflicts between survivors who hate each other but have to work together. It's about dealing with the psychological trauma of a survivor who watched their friend get torn apart by a plague wolf. It will mean making hard choices. Do you exile a highly skilled but disruptive survivor to restore peace, even if you desperately need their abilities? Do you risk a mission to recover a lost heirloom for a grieving community member to boost their morale, even if it has no tangible survival value? These are the questions that will define your leadership. The concept of hope will likely become a tangible resource, one that is harder to generate and easier to lose than influence or materials. The success or failure of your community will hinge on your ability to maintain it. This means the story of your community is more important than ever. You need to create victories, no matter how small. A successful hunt for a plague deer isn't just a source of samples, it's a story of triumph that will be told around the fire. Fortifying a new outpost isn't just a tactical move, it's a symbol of progress, a sign that you are not just surviving, but winning. This deeper simulation also means that specialization will become far more critical and permanent. A survivor who spends their time becoming a master plague hunter will not be able to simply respec into a computer expert overnight. Losing that hunter is not just an inconvenience, it is the catastrophic loss of a unique and almost irreplaceable asset. The new State of Decay 3 strategy must treat your specialists like crown jewels. You must protect them. You must build your entire strategy around leveraging their unique talents while mitigating their exposure to risk. This might mean your best gunslinger never leaves the watchtower, providing overwatch but staying out of direct harm. It might mean your master farmer has a dedicated bodyguard. This creates a new layer of tactical decision-making. The loss of a single, high-level survivor could cripple your entire operation. Therefore, recruitment becomes the most important metagame. You can no longer afford to take in every lost soul you find. You need to be selective. You need to vet new members. Are they a good cultural fit? Do they have a skill set that complements your existing team, or will they create friction? An ally enclave isn't just a source of trading partners anymore. It's a potential recruitment pool. You need to build relationships, prove your worth, and poach their best and brightest. This also opens the door for a darker path: betrayal. What if the most effective way to get a desperately needed master mechanic is to sabotage a rival enclave and then rescue their only survivor? The game may present you with morally great choices that have significant strategic consequences. A ruthless leader might build a powerhouse community, but at the cost of making powerful enemies. A benevolent leader might have high morale, but lack the elite specialists needed to survive the endgame. Your leadership philosophy is now a core mechanic. So, what are the new rules for community management? 1. Morale is your primary currency. Generate hope through action and leadership, not just facilities. 2. Specialists are your most valuable assets. Protect them at all costs. Your strategy should be built around them. 3. Recruitment is a strategic operation. Vet and select new members carefully to build a synergistic team, not just a larger one. 4. Your moral choices have tactical consequences. Decide what kind of leader you are and be prepared to live or die with the results. Your people are not just your friends. They are your soldiers, your workers, and your family. But they are also your greatest vulnerability. In the next log, we'll talk about where these people will live and why the very idea of a safe home has to be abandoned. Log entry 05, Spectre. Let's talk about home, about safety, about the four walls you trust to keep the dead out while you sleep. I told you before that fortresses are tombs. Now I'm going to explain the doctrine that replaces them. This is the State of Decay 3 Advanced Base Building Guide for a world that has made static defense obsolete. We must abandon the castle mentality and adopt the web mentality. Your main base is no longer your sanctuary. It is the heart of a web, and the strands of that web are a network of strategically placed, specialized outposts. The old outpost system was a passive resource drip. The new system must be an active defense network. Each outpost is not just a treasure chest. It's a sensor, a tripwire, and a force multiplier. Imagine an outpost set up in a radio tower. It doesn't just give you a trickle of influence. It provides you with early warnings. It extends your map intelligence, revealing the movement of hordes and special infected, especially the new animal threats, long before they reach your primary location. It becomes a critical intelligence hub. Imagine another outpost set up at a choke point, like a bridge or a mountain pass. You don't just loot it, you fortify it. You turn it into a kill zone. You outfit it with traps, mines, and perhaps even automated defenses. You've now created a buffer, a defensive line that can weaken or destroy a threat before it ever gets near your people. This is proactive defense. You are engaging the enemy in a space of your choosing, not theirs. The core of your base design must also change. Instead of focusing solely on perimeter defense, high walls and watchtowers, you must now focus on internal compartmentalization and strategic fallback points. Assume the perimeter will be breached. It's not a matter of if, but when. What happens when it is? Does the whole base collapse into chaos? Or do your people fall back to a secondary, pre-prepared defensive position inside the base? You need to design your base like a submarine, with bulkheads that can be sealed if one section is flooded. This means internal walls, clear lines of sight from defensible structures, and well-stocked fallback caches of ammo and medical supplies. Your base should be a series of nested hardpoints rather than a single hard shell. This philosophy extends to the very nature of your home. Who says it has to be static? The rumors and wish lists have been circulating for years about the possibility of mobile bases. A fortified convoy, a reclaimed train, a barge. If this becomes a reality, it is the ultimate expression of proactive defense. You don't wait for the threat to come to you, you simply move away from it. A mobile base is not just a vehicle, it's a paradigm shift. It makes the entire map your territory. It allows you to move to resource-rich areas, exploit them, and then move on before you've attracted too much attention. It is the ultimate survival tool in a dynamic, ever-changing world. But it comes with its own set of immense challenges: fuel consumption, complex maintenance, and the vulnerability of being caught while on the move. Mastering the logistics of a mobile base would be the pinnacle of survival strategy. But even without a fully mobile base, the principle of mobility must be ingrained in your planning. Never get too attached to one location. Always have an evacuation plan. Always have a bug-out bag and a designated rally point. Your main base might be your home, but your true home is your community. And your community must be able to move, to adapt, to abandon a failing position and establish a new one. This is the guerrilla mindset. We are not holding territory for a king. We are fighting a war of survival, and in this war, mobility is life. Let's outline the new doctrine of defense. 1. Your base is the heart of a web, not a castle. Build a network of specialized functional outposts that serve as your early warning system and first line of defense. 2. Design your base for failure. Assume the walls will be breached. Build internal strong points and fallback positions. Compartmentalize to survive. 3. Embrace mobility. Whether through a true mobile base or simply through meticulous evacuation planning, your ability to relocate is your ultimate defense. Never let yourself be cornered. 4. Traps and environmental weapons are your new best friends. Funnel your enemies. Control the battlefield. Make them die before they even reach your walls. The illusion of safety is the most dangerous enemy in this new world. It makes you soft, it makes you slow, it makes you dead. Abandon it. Your home is not a place, it is a plan. And in our next log, we'll discuss the tools you'll need to execute that plan. The reimagined arsenal. Log entry 06, Spectre. This is a war, and wars are won by logistics and firepower. But the nature of that firepower is about to change. The old way was to scavenge. You found a gun, you found some bullets, and you used it until it broke or ran dry. It was a consumer's mindset. We were living off the scraps of the old world. That well is running dry. The new State of Decay 3 strategy requires a fundamental shift from scavenger to craftsman, from consumer to producer. The core mechanic change we must anticipate is a deep and meaningful crafting and modification system. This isn't just about repairing your weapons anymore. It's about building them. It's about customizing them for specific threats. It's about manufacturing your own ammunition. This changes everything. It makes certain resources that were once junk, scrap metal, chemicals, electronics, into the most valuable commodities in the world. A survivor with a high-level engineering skill is now more valuable than a dozen assault rifles, because that engineer can make a dozen assault rifles. Your entire approach to resource gathering needs to be reevaluated. You're no longer just looking for rucksacks of ammo. You're looking for the raw materials to create ammo. This makes industrial locations, workshops, factories, chemical plants, the new high-value targets for resource runs. Securing a steady supply of steel, lead, and gunpowder is the new foundation of your community's security. This crafting system will allow for true weapon specialization. Consider the new threats. The fast-moving animal zombies might require a weapon with a high rate of fire and a large magazine, like a custom-built SMG. A new heavily armored juggernaut variant might be all but immune to small arms fire, requiring you to craft high-caliber armor-piercing rounds for a specialized sniper rifle. Your arsenal should no longer be a random collection of whatever guns you found. It should be a purpose-built toolbox, with each weapon designed and modified to counter a specific enemy type. This means your survivor's loadouts become a critical tactical choice. The team you assemble for a mission needs to have a synergistic mix of firepower. You need a crowd control specialist, a heavy threat eliminator, and a versatile marksman. The weapon each one carries is as important as the skills they possess. This doctrine extends to ammunition. Why settle for standard 7.62mm rounds when you could be crafting incendiary rounds to counter the new regenerator infected? Why not create hollow point rounds that are more effective against unarmored targets, conserving your precious armor-piercing supply? The ability to craft specialized ammunition turns every gunfight into a strategic puzzle. Are you using the right tool for the job? Using the wrong ammo type could be a fatal and costly mistake. This also applies to melee weapons and explosives. Imagine crafting a bladed weapon with scavenged plague heart fragments, giving it a chance to cause biodamage over time. Imagine building advanced proximity mines that can differentiate between common infected and special variants, only triggering for the high-priority targets. The possibilities are immense, and they all point to one conclusion. Your workshop is now the most important facility in your base. A community that can produce its own high-tier weapons and ammunition is a community that can control its own destiny. A community that still relies on scavenging is a community that is living on borrowed time. So, what is the craftsman's doctrine? 1. Shift your economic focus from scavenging finished goods to harvesting raw materials. Your goal is to fuel a production pipeline. 2. Your workshop is the heart of your base. Upgrade it, staff it with your best engineer, and protect it. 3. Specialize your arsenal. Build and modify weapons to counter specific threats. Don't rely on a one-size-fits-all approach. 4. Ammunition is not just a resource, it's a strategic tool. Craft specialized ammo types and use them intelligently to maximize your combat effectiveness. We are no longer picking through the bones of the old world. We are forging the tools of the new one. And with these tools, we will build a future. In the final log, I will lay out a blueprint, a 100-day plan to take you from a desperate survivor to a dominant force in this new, deadlier apocalypse. Log Entry 07, Spectre. This is the final log in this series. We've deconstructed the past and dissected the present. Now we look to the future. I've given you the doctrine, the theory behind the new State of Decay 3 strategy. Now I'll give you the plan. A simple, actionable blueprint for your first 100 days. This is how you don't just survive, you dominate. Phase 1, the foothold, days 1 to 15. Your absolute first priority is not a base, it's water and food. Find a location where you can establish a secure, isolated water source and begin enclosed farming. This is non-negotiable. Scavenge only for the materials needed for this project: seeds, tools, filtration parts. During this phase, your combat posture is pure avoidance. You are weak. Do not engage anything you don't have to. Your focus is on establishing self-sufficiency. Recruit only if you find a survivor with critical engineering or gardening skills. Phase 2, the web, days 16 to 50. With your core needs met, you expand. But you don't build walls higher, you push your sensor net outward. Begin establishing your first specialized outposts. A communications tower for intel. A choke point for defense. Your goal is to own the territory around your base, to see and control the flow of threats. This is when you establish your workshop and begin the slow process of shifting from scavenged weapons to crafted ones. You will also designate and begin training your specialists, your plague hunter, your engineer, your scout. Phase 3, the Forge, days 51 to 100. Now you consolidate and project power. Your production pipeline for specialized weapons and ammo should be coming online. Your defensive web should be established. You can now begin proactively targeting major threats. Use your plague hunter to acquire advanced samples. Use your new arsenal to surgically remove plague hearts. Use your intel network to ambush and destroy rival enclaves if you must. By day 100, you should not be a community that is hiding from the world. You should be a community that is shaping it. You are the local power. You dictate the terms. This is the path. It's not easy, it's not safe, but it is a plan. It's a strategy for a world that has none. I don't know what's coming, none of us do, but I know that luck is not a strategy. Hope is not a plan. The only thing that will keep you alive is what's in your head, the tactics you choose, the leader you become. This is my plan, my strategy. Now it's yours. What's the first thing you'll do? What's your rule number 1 for this new world? Let me know. Maybe we can learn from each other. Maybe we can build something that lasts. Spectre, signing off.